Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we have a great show coming at you tonight. Why? Because it's our Keith Andrews night, and we love it when Keith is here. So let's make sure that we say hello to Big Bad R. Keith Andrews when he gets here. And first of all, we are going to say hello to each and every one of you. Why? Well, because we love you. How about that? All right, let's get to our list here. We have Tim Mothman and his goatee in the gold medal position. Kitty Caddywhack with a silver. Race fan taking home the bronze medal tonight. What a good start. As we start off roll call, there's Mel WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness. Mel takes care of that, especially when you're talking about aliens. Race fan, how you doing? Necessary Dialogue, nice to see you. Robert Lamoth and our Keith Andrews in the chat room. Desert Rat, nice to see you. As we start off with our roll call, Eternity Eternal is here. Eternity Eternal will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Road Flare, how are you? Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Why? Well, because he likes to. It's just that simple. And, who's this? Down to Earth. How you doing? T-Bone, my man. How are you, my friend? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Signs of Life and Roswell Alien. Good to see you. Pam Harris. Man of the West. Welcome to SOR Chat. Mike Jones. Welcome to SOR Chat. Kurt M. How are you? And Jerence Carter. Nice to have you here. As we continue on with our roll call, Nikki Cook. Welcome. Werewolf 69, thanks for coming on in. Amy, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call here. Walter Kochabinski and Carol Amerio, nice to have you both. Mel Remas, welcome to SOR Chat. Undead Jed, thank you for joining us. Hi there, Valerie Peters up in Quesnel. Nice to see you. As we continue on, there's Julie Rios and Bigfoot Fades. How you doing? Nice to have you here. Roll call continues with Luscious Jewels and Candace. Candace will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Fast Hemi, good to see you. Frankie B, thanks for coming on in. Based, how you doing tonight? As we roll on down in the chat room, and who is next on our list? Well, it's Tina Smith, everybody. Give her a wave. She always waves back. Make sure you try it on out. Mystery Forms, welcome to SOR Chat. Where in British Columbia are you? I'm in 100 Mile House. Where are you? K17, how you doing? Nice to have you here. And who is next on our list here? Well, let's just scroll on down. We are caught up. Wow. I blazed through that way too quickly. Way too quickly. All right. And B, nice to see you. And got the werewolves from Canada here. Nice. Where are you, werewolf in Canada? Let me know. Oh, you're in Richmond. Okay. Very nice. Good to have you here. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Glad to have you with us as we have our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection coming up here momentarily. But first, we're in roll call on our YouTube side. We're going to launch in about 45 seconds. So just bear with us as we say hello to Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I know you love our Keith. Yes, I know you do. The Ferret, how are you? Nice to have you here, and we are caught up, I believe, on our roll call. Want to remind everybody the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hi there, Paul Nicholas. How are you? And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. I've now put it on Shopify as well. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Joanne B., welcome from Paranormal Portal. And B. Arthur sending you on over. So thank you very much for checking us on out. If you're new here, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We're here 7 days a week. Flat Sixer, how are you tonight? Nice to see you. Horns up. Let's do it.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing night of woo coming at you. Why? Because our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection gets going here momentarily. Yes, we are going to blow your mind with Keith as we do each and every month here on this show. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here with another creepy story. Then we're going to get into the Q&A with our good friend Extra Small Lee Strauss from Element 115 on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned. We got a great show coming at you for tonight. Our Keith Andrews is a spiritual guide, author, metaphysical researcher whose work explores extraordinary extraterrestrial contact, multidimensional awareness, and the path of personal transformation. Through Inner Voice Enterprises, where he serves as the founder and CEO, Keith helps navigate people through their life goals, energetic alignments, and emotional clarity using both intuitive guidance and grounded real-world tools. With a growing media presence in podcasting, online teachings, and public speaking, Keith bridges the gap between the spiritual and the practical, offering insight on how non-human intelligences and higher vibrational awareness shape the human experience. Now, this is a different type of show than what we normally do. If you're checking it on out, we take a lot of audience questions. So if you want to be in our chat room, you got to join us on YouTube. You have to join us on X or Facebook, on our Facebook page, and you can join us right there. Put your questions in capital letters, and we're going to bring them on in right now. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. How you doing, my friend? It's always good to see you.
I'm really missed being here last month, but I didn't get options.
That's okay. Your computer blew up. You know, it's been going around. It happened to Lon Strickler last time we went to have him on. So it's something that's going around. Computers are getting flus and shutting on down.
So joyful. And I
For
thought I
people
was
who-
the one causing it most of the time.
For people who may not have heard of you, Keith, or your story, tell us a little bit about what it's like being a lifelong ET contactee.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest problem is you really don't know how to relate to people. I look at the world the way I see it, and most people just do not comprehend it the same way. So you're caught between, well, am I completely nuts or is everybody else? And like I've seen enough professionals to know that the information I've got, it's a question. If I get the information, I question it and wait for somebody else to corroborate it, which seems to happen, as you well know, Dave, way more often than some people might like.
It does happen. It does happen. You have been a contactee since childhood, early childhood, and it's continued right to this day. A lot of people may not understand that there are people like you out there who don't have the physical answers as to what's going on, but after years of contact, you kind of have an understanding of things and have been downloaded knowledge and everything that goes along with it. What is the difference between somebody like you as an experiencer who has gained all this information over the years from your contact compared to, say, someone who works in government and is looking into the ET thing, or scientists looking into UFOs?
I think the biggest difference is, and I can only speak for myself, is I don't look for proof of what I'm sensing. I just go, that's what it feels like, and until it gets derailed, until I find something that countermands that belief, I simply run with it. I constantly question whether or not it's my imagination getting ahead of me. But then I get people that I don't know, or government showing up on my doorstep, looking for information that I seem to have that they seem not to.
Now, you being in Canada, living in the interior of British Columbia, about 4.5 hours south of where I am.
Yeah.
How many times over the years have you had any sort of official track you down to have a conversation with you?
I've actually had it done officially twice.
What happened in those situations?
They weren't from Canada.
What happened in those situations?
Well, I had the CIA show up on my doorstep, and she asked for me. She had tracked down a metaphysical shop in town to get an idea where they could find me. So they show up on my doorstep and wanted to talk to me about my understanding of what was going on with the UFO world. Right now, it started off. She claimed to not be affiliated with any government. Right. So we went down to Tim Hortons, which, as many of you know, is a premier coffee shop here, coffee and donut shop. We got sitting down, and as she started to say something, I looked at her. I said, now, she was not working for anybody with her starting claim. And then she started to ask me a question. I looked at her, I said, you do realize we're being listened in on? And she goes, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she's looking around, absolutely panic-stricken. Who's listening in? I looked at her and I just shook my head. I went, not in the building. And I pointed out the window. I said, 2 blocks up the road. They've got a shotgun mic on the roof. Well, she grabs her throat and essentially coughs into it. And immediately looks at me and goes, are they still listening in? I said, no, they're gone. So the conversation went on for a while. I actually had 2 meetings with her over 2 days that she insisted we go out of the house. I looked at her. I said, I don't leave the house for a reason. So the period of 4 hours, at the end of the second day, she looked at me and goes, you haven't told me anything that our government doesn't know. Right. I looked at her and I said, then you got 1 of 2 choices. And I'm not going to repeat exactly what I said because I think there's a bit of a problem with the way that's going to go across. I looked at her and I said, you got 1 of 2 choices. Either your government doesn't know what I'm sitting on, and I gave her another alternative. Not repeatable on radio, I don't think. The other one, the first time that I'd been approached was way back before the internet really took full swing. That CIA one was about 10 years ago. But about way back when BBSs and the newsrooms were the only way onto the net, I made a comment on a government site, on a group site that was discussing UFOs. And somebody had said something. I just simply said, oh, so you don't know about the fleet that's inside the sun's corona. The next morning, I got a single sentence email in all caps, and all it said was, "What do you know about the fleet?" So I says, I can't tell you, I cannot give you coordinates, but on a clock face, I says, you go to the 4 o'clock mark and move in about 2/3 of the way, you'll find the fleet. That night, the news group I'd been on had been wiped out entirely. So when I reached out to the guy that emailed me, he said, I'm sorry, you must have the wrong person because I have no idea what you're talking about. The government does not like to, I don't think they like anybody knowing what's going on. And yet, it's not like I'm going around telling people. Well, technically I am now. But in most of the time, it's been individuals dealing with me. Some of these guys may be government. I don't know. Those are the only two that identified themselves as government.
Keith, when they came to your door, let's go back to the lady from the CIA. When that happened, how did they find out about you? Was it just from online, or did somebody report you in? How did that happen? Because it's not very often CIA people come to Canada to look for somebody about UFOs.
I honestly have no idea how she found out, what brought her attention to me, because at the time, well, I was on the internet, but it's not like this was way before you and I connected, Dave. Like probably 5, maybe 10 years before we met. And I have no idea. She knocked on my door. And I mean, I'd had the cops show up on my door before, right? For other reasons. And no, none of them were illegal on my part. But she showed up on my door, but she was dressed and it was weird. Because she claimed she wasn't working for the CIA. And she was dressed in a fur coat in the middle of August. Which might give you an idea of how that started out.
So what made you believe that she was in the CIA then?
Well, the moment that she used a throat mic to clear the roof 2 blocks over, and then her final comment, "You can't talk to me about my government like that." I looked and I said, "Why not? I talk about my own government that way. Why would I talk about yours differently?"
Very true. Very true.
But no, she never did identify herself per se.
Right. Life of being an experiencer is a little bit different for everybody. Some people like to talk about it. Others are very shy and scared to talk about it. Why are you public?
Because I can't control my mouth. So it kind of worked out that way. Ultimately, people ask me a question, I end up putting my foot in it and going, this is what I know. And of course, they'll turn around and go, well, where's your proof? And my immediate response is simple. Prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that New York City exists right now. You can't do it. So for me, it's just a question of people ask me a question. I'll give them an honest answer. It may not be one there that they are really comfortable with, right? But I certainly won't lie to them. But then I'm a firm believer. If I ask somebody a question, I'd like the honest truth as well.
Okay, so as an experiencer, you've met many people throughout your career. You've helped counsel people throughout this entire thing. What have you noticed about people who have had contact, whether it's the first time or their 300th time?
There are two main types of people I've noticed. The ones that are really edgy and very, very nervous about saying anything, because more often than not, even when you tell somebody very well experienced, like one of the big names that we have in the UFO community, even when you tell them that you've had an experience, so many times the experiencer is looked at and told, "Oh, you're making that up to get attention. You just want to be in the spotlight." And the majority of people don't have any interest in being in the spotlight. Quite the contrary. Then you've got the other ones that go, "This is the way my life is, and I'm just trying to cope with it." But you get the majority of people are edgy about it, right? And then you do get the ones that get aggressively confrontational when they get questioned. And I have called people on reported. I've called them on their reported rendition. The obvious example would be the guy that I met that claimed to be a natural half-breed Anunnaki. Now, the reason I called him on it and told him that he was just absolutely false is because you got to realize the average human, okay, is somewhere around, average human female is usually around the 5 to 5.5 foot mark by the time they're able to reproduce. The average Anunnaki is not able to reproduce until they're 15 feet tall. Now, can we see a mechanical problem here? Because Anunnaki reproduce the same way humans do.
But do you not think that maybe instead of height, it goes by age and sexual maturity?
Physical maturity would be more the problem. They're not physically capable of reproducing until then.
Keith, for people who may not know your story of the amount of contact you've had the good contact, you've had downloads, you've had the bad contact where, the nightmarish things people laugh about. I want to talk about that for a minute here, because a lot of people think when they hear stories about needles in the eye or body parts being removed or anything, that it's just a laughable joke, that it hasn't happened, and a human body couldn't go through that, without multiple scars or some sort of deterioration of the body or even death. How do you go through that? How do they do it?
Well, that really depends on which species we're talking about. But so we got to understand there's a lot of variables. But when you take a look at the reticulans, what most people know as the grays, okay, number one, they have healing techniques to accelerate genetic recalibration, also known as psychocellular kinesis. They know how to bring the body back online. And what humans do for cloning is what reticulans learn in preschool. In what amounts to preschool. But basically, they still have to use tools that work so they can get the physical samples from humans. The problem that most people run into is humans do it all the time to animals and plants around this world. The reticulans are just returning the favor. But they're the ones that have specialized in hybridization. So when we talk about this whole idea of needles in the eyes or implants or organ repair, that sort of thing, This is just routine. To them, that is about as routine as it is for us to clip a hangnail.
Well, you know what? I mean, a lot of people will say they treat us like cattle, and you're right. We treat a lot of animals for testing that way. It's been like that for a number of years. So, I mean, when you see humans all of a sudden disappearing, Keith, or
Yeah.
they vanish into thin air, is this aliens doing this, or are these people requesting to leave? Do people have a choice?
Number one, very few people are picked up that request to go. In my 60 years of doing this, I've had one person that we made the request for, and no, I am not going to tell anybody their name. But I've had one person we made a request for that was picked up. The rest are picked up, and how they go about determining, how the reticulans go about determining who they're picking up, I don't honestly know. But the ones they pick up to talk to, they all share a similar message. And that is, you're destroying this planet, the only one you currently actively live on. You're destroying it. Do something about it. You're the caretakers. The off-worlders are not here to repair this planet or to set the human race on the right track, because in their eyes, mankind has reached a point in its socioeconomic, in its xenosocioeconomic development, where it's either going to learn to get along, or it's going to blow itself all the way back to the Stone Age.
Very true. Very true. As we got about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues with this. In the next hour, Keith, or next half hour, Keith, we are going to get into audience questions, because I know you love audience questions. But a lot of people will always ask you, where's your proof? Where's your evidence? They do that with a lot of experiencers out there. Why haven't you taken pictures with your phone? Why haven't you recorded anything on your cameras? Okay. For many people, I know the answer to that. And that answer is, the experience is so quick and so fleeting, you don't have an opportunity to do so. But a lot of people will say with you that if it's happening so rapidly and often, why don't you have evidence? Why aren't you trying to record them?
Well, number one, where it comes to technology, it scrambles on me and everybody around me regularly. Much more importantly, so many people I talked to, even when I had some sort of proof, would tell me I was faking it or I was making it up. And the number of people that have taken photos that I know, I can tell that I can't tell you if they're real photos. I can tell you they represent the real thing, right? But the number of people that have taken photos and somebody says, oh, that's just a fleck of dirt, or that's not proof. The reality is, the people that require proof are likely not going to get it. And the people that believe you in the first place don't require the proof.
So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Pretty much.
Have you ever had any photographs or recordings land on your phone that you didn't do?
Any photographs land on my phone that I wouldn't do which?
That you didn't take?
Oh, I've had people send me photographs. I had somebody send me a photograph of a piece of equipment he built. And he says, I don't know where this came from. He says, I woke up knowing how to build this thing, but I can't get a reading off it. Right? He says, it's supposed to be some sort of radio telescope type thing. He says, but I can get nothing to read off it. I said, take a look at your magnetic resonance. He goes, why would I do that? I says, because that piece of equipment that you've got is part of interstellar communication.
Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues on Spaced Out Radio after the break. And when we return, we're going to get to audience questions. So be ready. Your questions are coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. Good start, Keith.
Yeah, it started off quite nicely, didn't it?
Mhm.
117 already.
Yeah, getting there. Getting there. Nelson R., how you doing? Nice to see you. If you're new here and you're listening in for the first time, because there's a lot of new names, we are a live radio show. So we go to commercial break at the top and bottoms of the hours, but you get to kind of hear and see the behind the scenes of everything. But yeah, so if you're wondering why we're kind of taking a little bit of a break on the show right now, it's because the radio side is on commercial. So we have to time everything out to them. So please don't hold it against us. We got a little bit of a different, weird format, I know. And hopefully you'll stick around for a while, hang out. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, as we are here all the time. Like, we have no live, so we're like always here. So do that for us if you don't mind, and go from there. If you have any questions, do me a favor, put them in capital letters. It's easier for me to read this font on StreamYard here, so I would appreciate that. Follow Sandra ×3. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Just have woo fun. It's that simple. Just have woo fun. You don't have to believe a guest. You don't have to like what they're saying. That's okay. Just sit back and enjoy the woo, because you could be listening to repeats of Justin Trudeau's speeches, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So enjoy. Hi, Richard Minnick. How are you, buddy? So excited. Richard Minnick is here. He used to be here every night, and now all of a sudden it's spotty. It's like comes in like a rainstorm and then disappears, and then comes in like a rainstorm. No, Dave is not having a crush on Katy Perry anymore, because she is dating the proud Canadian idiot. Bombshell Bomber, how are you? Trucks like to park it on purpose. Apparently, they get in trouble for that. I love that name. Not Beefy Productions. That's awesome. Jade Truth Seeker, how are you? Skip to Malou, good morning to you over in Denmark. I think you're in Denmark. You're in Denmark, right? Art Keith, where's your wifey?
Up front in the living room.
Yeah?
Yeah.
She still likes you?
Well, she's still here.
Well, that's good.
I mean, you think about it. We got married in August. I died in September, recovered in October, and we're still together.
Big shout out to Susan here. Susan, the other shortly ago, lost her longtime partner, Morris. Susan, we love you. I heard this news the other day, and I feel so bad for you, my dear. And I hope that you can find some solace and some comfort in listening to us and being around friends. You are a long time listener, and we love you here. And I hope that our friends here can help comfort you during this tough time, my dear. I really hope so. All right. Mr. Cowley, how you doing? Feel bad for her. She's a good lady.
Yeah, no doubt. And
Roswell, thank you very much for that super chat, my man. A good Canadian one, too. Where are you from, Roswell? And Two Shadows, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Two Shadows. The love is coming tonight. Wow, I feel special. Feel good. Feel good. We got about 40 seconds here. Unknown, how are you? What's the good word? Bird. Bird is the word. I keep hearing an echo, and I realize that I have my headphones over here. So
yeah, I keep hearing an echo without headphones.
You're an echo. That's what.
Probably.
Yep. Because you got your speakers too loud. Here we go, Keith. Hi, Kimberly Burgess. How are you, my dear? All right, we are into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. I'm about to turn the dial up on the woo here for our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Pumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection based out of Kelowna, British Columbia, a lifelong ET contactee who now helps counsel those who are having their own experiences. Keith, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks so much for everybody that's tuned in.
You ready for some questions?
Fire away.
All right, let's get right to them. Let's start off with Jules here, who is asking, what is your first full memory of interaction with other intelligent beings?
Literally, I was in utero at the time. I was in my third trimester of gestation when I had my first encounter. And yeah, I know how odd that sounds. But if we want to move forward to after birth, then we take it in the first day of my trip into the incubator. I had enough. I was going home. And that's why I ran into the council in the first place and got told, no, you've got a job to do. You signed up to, you signed the contract to deal with this. You've got to go back. My comment to them was, I didn't sign up for this abuse. And I mean, it sounds a little comical, but I literally came to understand. I was shown exactly how this whole world came into existence, and why we have such an incredible melting pot of various different species coming through here. But rest assured, the one thing I was told was that humans are the caretakers for this planet, nobody else. But when I first ran into them, and I did get the encounter I had in utero, I did run into somebody that was on the military base at the time I was in utero, and they verified the correspondence that I had borne witness to. Bear in mind, I've been astral traveling since before I was born.
You're a wild, free spirit, my friend. Let's go to Paul here, who is asking, are there any other contactees in your immediate area? Is it common where you live?
As far as I'm aware, there's not a lot of people that come out and say they've been contacted. Most are afraid to because of the stigmatism and the ridicule that so many of them get. Like I had one just the other day. There's a chap that I know that has started opening up about what he's been through, because he made a comment one day and I just answered it without even thinking. And that just opened the door for him that I wasn't going to look at him and go, oh, you're making it all up just to get attention.
I guess that happens quite a bit. Let's go to another question here. We're off to Greg here, and Greg is asking, Keith, have you ever heard of holographic implants before?
Yes.
What are those?
Well, they're literally what they are. They are an actual implant, but the reason that people call them holographic is because they are literally caught in a biomagnetic phase. where they physically are there, but they are geared to read the biomagnetic flux of the human condition. They also use them on other plants and animals, though. It's simply a transition between computer and corporeal existence.
And what would they use them for? Is it tracking? Is it biometrics? What is it?
Real-time tracking and biometrics. They do not use it to modify the human genome. If they're doing a repair job, which some people have had happen, myself I've had it happen, that is done on board a ship. And for those of you that are dealing with the reticulans, some of you will have run into reticulans and Nords combined, as in some of each. Well, the reason for that is because reticulans are a very physically weak race. Okay, the Nords are built like Terran Vikings. Needless to say, a little bit more physically adept.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go to Jules here. Do you think any of your personal health problems have been caused by your proximity to craft?
On a temporary base, the answer would be yes. I can always tell when I've had a run, because my potassium levels crash, and sometimes my calcium goes with it. And I know, and if you talk to astronauts, or you do a little research on what astronauts go through when they come back from outer space, this is the same problem they go through.
That's very true. That's very true. Let's go to another question here, my friend. Back to Greg. Keith, have you ever heard of a holographic implant? Yeah, we just answered that. He says, I've been told by two separate people I have one in my right arm. I have no clue to what they are and what their purpose is. Info would be great.
I can't tell you specifically, but in general, they're looking at biometrics, as in take a look at your blood pressure, your dietary practices. They will also take a look at environmental factors regarding where you are, because they do track the migration of certain families. And in a nutshell, though they may not admit it, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend asking them, but it's quite common to find that these kinds of abductions and trackings happen in family bloodlines.
Can you pull out a holographic implant?
You can short it out, is more to the point. And I mean, I can give you a neat little trick. I can show you right here. Or more to the point, your listeners and viewers can experience it themselves. But that's up to you.
Yeah, go for it. We got time.
All you got to do, you got to understand, every part of your hand generates an energy field. If you take your hands and put them about 1/4 to 1/2 inch apart, don't make contact with them. If you concentrate on them for a moment, you'll feel an energy field between them. Now, you may call this a magnetic. You might feel it as heat. I heard one person describe it as bubbles. And you concentrate on that. Now, as you, with your hands still separated, open your fingers a little and curl them, because you'll generate the field around your finger, around the tips of your fingers. Now, wherever you think you've got a holographic implant, or for that matter, an electrical one, you take your hand and you literally wrap the fingers around it. Don't touch it. And you just concentrate on increasing the energy flow. Bioelectrics will short out electrics without even thinking about it. Bioelectrics are the electromagnetic field that your body generates. And all you're doing by doing what I was just talking about is you're amplifying the flow, overloading their system, if you will. Now, the one thing I will tell you, I have yet to hear of an implant causing a problem. Even with a physical implant, they don't tend to cause an actual problem for people. Aside from maybe invasion of privacy.
Let's move on. Let's go to Not Beefy. Ever witness beings that live in the shadows and jump through portals after they abduct children who are also in the shadow?
I've done that for years. The short answer is yes. Even interrupted a few of them, which they are not happy when you do that, by the way. But portal jumping is a normal method of getting in and out of an area. Okay, maybe not normal. At least not from human standpoint.
In your opinion, what are shadow people?
I would have to go back and look at it, but they are another species altogether. They literally are composed of shadow particles, or if you will, light absorbing particles. Okay, I just can't tell you the name right off the top of my head. I can tell you their counterpart, which are straight beings of light, which are your Yumion.
It is about, the fact that these shadow people are kind of eerie. Some people believe they're demonic. Some people believe that they are spirits walking around just in a darker form. I don't know what they are either. And I've had encounters with a couple of them.
Well, I will tell you that when somebody ends up deceased, if they don't know they've been deceased and they're of a particular negative band, they may well get trapped in the physical on this side of the veil, and they won't hold the image of what they were or what they look like. They hold a vague memory of the bipedal configuration. And yeah, they do seem to absorb light when they're walking by it. But there is a group that I used to, when I first started running into them, I used to refer to them as shadow walkers. They're Sanguinan. And they literally evolved on Earth. Okay. Sanguinan you would actually know as vampires.
Sounds creepy.
Yeah, but they're nice people.
I'm sure they are. Doesn't mean we have to really enjoy them. Let's go over to Fast Hemi here. When was your last abduction?
Well, the last trip really would have been a couple of months back at this point. Right about the same time I decided to drop dead, they decided that wasn't a good idea. Yeah, that's a long story in and of itself. I've had contact by having, because of the state my health has been in, they've been pretty much leaving me alone as far as taking me off world for the last little while. Although I'm absolutely certain that's happening in the extremely near future. I've been in contact with a few that are having problems.
Who takes you?
Usually the consortium itself. I tend to work, much as I am not a diplomat down here, because they work on such a direct, feed for the most part. The consortium itself, the governing body for the local area, tend to be the ones that bring me up. Simply put, because I do look at them all as equals. I don't even look at the governing body as a, shall we say, more important group than what you would call the commoners.
Moving on. Let's go next to this question. Why do the ETs do the needle experiments on us humans?
Well, especially where the eye is concerned, aside from the brain itself, the eye has the most intense concentration of DNA data that is interactive on multiple levels than any other part of the body. And they can, by looking at the vitreous fluid inside the eyeball, they can literally see what your memories are doing. And I'm talking recent memories, not the stored ones. But they do that to get an idea how the human brain processes things. Like how it changes, how it takes what it sees, and then determines what it's going to pay attention to, what it's going to ignore. Now, some of that, when you're looking at the reticulans, most of that is because they utilize that insight with regards to the hybridization program. The Enneads and the Pleiadians focus on the healing side of it. What can we do to repair the damage if it occurs? Now, they do not repair all humans, obviously. But then the reality is, most humans don't, they complain about it, but they really don't know what they're asking. And this is something that people just have to realize. Sometimes people go, oh, I really wish this would happen, and they don't think it through. But when you're looking now, if we look at the vegans, okay, correction, if we look at the vegans are on Earth, vegans are another race altogether. They are literally looking for weak points in the human genome. And since they don't have a pain center at all, they've got no concept of anesthetic, which, by the way, makes a trip up there really unenjoyable with them.
When they put the needles in, are they going? We always hear about the eyeballs or the stomach. Are there any other places that they concentrate on?
They certainly go after the kidneys a lot. Many times they'll go after the lungs and the heart, usually at the same time. But that's done with a dual depth needle extractor, much like the tracking device that they use to both take samples from 3 levels and drop an implant at the same time. That's the dextrospanylizer that the reticulans use.
Let's go to Sarah here. Do you think it's a good idea to use hypnotic regression if you suspect you were contacted or abducted?
Number one, is it a good idea? The answer is yes. However, and this is a very big however, make certain that the person that you're getting to do it is qualified. And let me be clear here. I don't mean they've been trained by some medical profession or by some hypnosis training facility. Because I'll tell you, the moment they say, when you try bringing in an image forward, and they go, well, does it have hair? Okay, you'll automatically start modifying what you're seeing. Okay, or if they go, are they blonde haired or are they brunette? The moment that the regressionist starts asking questions with a pinpoint information, they're accidentally or on purpose guiding you down the road. Okay. If they have a question, they've got to be asking it in such a way as, well, can you be more specific on the hair color or lack thereof? Or can you tell me anything more to give a more tightly defined description of what the body looks like? As soon as they start filling in the gaps for you, and they'll do it with the best of intentions.
Right. Keith, what about people who want to use some sort of hallucinogenic, whether it's psilocybin or ayahuasca, in order to try and build or understand contact better?
Number one, I highly recommend against it, because you're not going to get a straight feel for it. Both of those chemicals and many others, okay, modify what you're seeing, and you won't know they're modified. So to my way of thinking, this is an absolute hands-off.
A lot of people will say the psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, is a great way to trip into the extraterrestrial world.
I won't argue what they say. I just won't agree with them. I mean, many people tell me skydiving is a wonderful experience. I've yet to find anybody that can give me a good reason to get out of a perfectly good aircraft.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I will stand with you there. You know, a lot of people, you know, I've never done ayahuasca or magic mushrooms. I don't know. I'm just too freaked out to try it. But I do believe in order to create contact, it's more of a meditation than it is about using some sort of alternative in order to try and build that contact.
Absolutely agree with you there.
And once again, we got to say, hey, there are people who will take mushrooms, or there will be people who take ayahuasca or other means in order to try and get that contact. And if it works for them, great. You're not saying it doesn't. You're just saying you wouldn't recommend it.
That's all I'm saying. You know, I won't touch the stuff. And I used to be a drug addict.
Well, there's something we learned new. I never knew that.
Oh, yeah.
How long you been clean?
40 years?
Good
No,
for you.
30. 87 is when I quit.
Almost 40 years. 38 years.
Used to be a drug addict and an alcoholic. By the way, it didn't help me cope with the reality of what I was going through.
True. Good for you. I never knew that about you, Keith. Congratulations. Let's go to Not Beefy here. Final question before the hour. We got 2 minutes, okay?
Okay.
What type of being has technology that can live as a shadow and teleport through portals?
Well, that live as a shadow, the Sanguinan will absolutely come across as looking like a shadow. The portals themselves are usually designed by let's try English, shall we? The portals are usually operated by the consortium. Okay, now I gotta track down who it is, but the Umion, they look like light, and that's all they look like. Okay, but they step through portals at the same time. What you gotta remember is these portals, literally all you're doing is stepping from one side of you're literally folding space. You know, there was a story written decades ago called A Wrinkle in Time that described it beautifully. But what you're really doing is stepping from one location to another. Humans see it as teleportation or portal walking. The off-worlders tend to look at it as wormhole jumping. It's another way of phrasing a portal.
Do you think? Well, let me ask you this first, though. Do you think, though, that if you're living on that realm, that using portals is just secondary, like you and I walking down a sidewalk?
Yes. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. They open a portal like we open a door. Or more to the point, they open a portal like you walk through an archway.
Well,
Most of you, if you live in an apartment or a house, have an archway inside your house.
Well, it makes it just that much more fun now, doesn't it?
It does. Until you get a cross current, and then it gets a little funky.
On that note, Keith, we're going to get you to take a break here on Spaced Out Radio. At the top of the hour, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connections continue when we return with more audience questions, and good questions indeed. Thank you very much. Hour 2 coming up.
is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, Keith, we got about 5.5 minutes. I'm going to put you in the green room, and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, no.
Christine wants to know how you're doing.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you answer that in the chat room.
Yeah.
Be right back. Be right back, everybody. All right. I am back. Let's bring back our Keith and Awesome Cat Chaser. How you doing? Nice to see you. And who else is here? Let's jump in. I think we're caught up. All right. Make sure for any of your questions, you put them in capital letters. That would be absolutely wonderful if you did. We'd appreciate it. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, which is on our website, and now on Shopify. So make sure you check it on out. We'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. Keith, I'm going to get you to turn your speakers down a bit. It's echoing a little bit too much.
At this point, I don't even know how. They're already right down.
Okay, perfect. We can deal with that.
Maybe that'll help.
Hopefully. Hopefully. We got 10 seconds, buddy.
Okay, doke.
We are into hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Panophobia. Panophobia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in our guest, our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Keith joins us each and every month to talk about alien contact and everything to do with ETs. He's an experiencer. He is a counselor. He does everything that he can to help people with the weirdest, strangest experiences that they've ever had. Keith, thank you so much for being here.
And thanks so much for having me. You know, it's amazing. We've been at this for 10 years now, I think.
Pretty close. Pretty darn close. Yeah, we just started year 11 here on Spaced Out Radio on December 1st. November 30th was our 10-year, end of our 10-year anniversary. So this is year 11 now we're in. Hard to
It's
believe.
been long haul, but yeah, I've really enjoyed the journey.
Me too. It's been a lot of fun. Let's start off with a question from Corey here. Are there interdimensional beings who use amulets made from skulls with a skeleton key to anchor themselves during travel?
The amulets definitely exist. The only difference and the only discrepancy there is it's not dimensional. It's vibrational, which I think is where my biggest problem is. See, everything you ever see in this world, everything you ever sense is third dimensional. But
Keith,
many,
I'm going to
many
get you to
species-
stop banging your desk because it's coming through.
sorry,
No, you go ahead. Finish your answer.
many different species use different technologies as a focal point, which is what the amulets are for.
Why skulls, though?
Well, because they're the one thing, they're the longest lasting thing. I mean, far better to have a skull than to have an entire head on your hip. But if you think about it, all the way back through, especially, and it's not just human, but all the way back through corporeal time, the skull has believed to be the seat of intense knowledge. That's where it's contained. So by taking that image and turning it into an amulet, you take all that focal point, all that trust in that knowledge, and lock it in place. It makes it easier to stay focused on it.
Isn't that ritualistic, though?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, anytime you use some sort of focus for what you're doing, or some sort of pattern, like even when people go in when people, and I'm going to say something somebody's going to get upset about, so I'll apologize. Even going through mainstream religious prayer sequences and prayer maneuvers, whether it's the old dance routines, or how you hold your hands, or if you light a candle, all of these are ritualistic. But corporeal entities, since time immemorial, almost, have used some sort of focal point to help stay centered on their intention. This is why people have things like this weird thing called a book, because the mind will hold all the information, but books help people keep things in order. It's just another form of focus.
Let's move on to another question. Let's go next to Tracy here. Were there any other people in your family that have been taken on such craft, such as parents, grandparents, great-grandparents?
The short answer is yes. The more complicated answer is I'm not going to identify which one or ones.
So it is a family lineage for you.
It is, yeah, it very definitely is.
So considering that, it's not your story to tell about your parents or your grandparents or great grandparents, but I can explain on this or ask you about this, which is family lineage. What is it about family lineage that makes ETs so curious?
Oh, it's quite seriously, it is literally evolution. Environmental evolution. It's the same thing in the same parameters. Well, the same baseline parameters that humans use when they are tracking apes, elephants, fish. They do the same thing. They look for genetic markers to see which ones are connected, and to see where that particular family unit has spread out to. It's literally the same reason. They just happen to have, they're looking for something a little more complicated, because as some humans have figured out, the soul does not always come back into a human body. And therefore, many people, and I saw one go through here tonight, many people do not see Earth as their homeworld, and that's because in all likelihood, they remember their last life on another planet more clearly. Doesn't change the fact that this is their corporeal homeworld this time, but it may not feel like it. But they look for what the off-worlders are looking for is a quantifiable subquantum resonance to track where that soul has gone, what vehicles that soul has operated, and to see if there's any sort of correlation between societal placement from the last rendition to this one.
Will it continue for other generations as well? Let's say, for instance, to hypothetically use your family, you're a father. Will it happen to your children, your future grandchildren, your future great-grandchildren? Will that lineage continue?
I'd be surprised if it didn't, considering I know personally, if I take past lives into consideration, I know personally at least 50,000 years that this has been going on. And that's just on this planet. So I can't see it stopping anytime soon.
Let's move on. Let's go to Werewolf here. Keith, do you ever listen to John Lear? And if so, what do you think of him?
Number one, no, and therefore not a whole lot. I actually don't listen to any of the mainstream.
John Lear, his father invented the Learjet, and he passed away a few years ago. And I never got to meet him, but for people who spoke about him, he basically gave up everything for the subject of UFOs. And he was one of the people who convinced Bob Lazar to come out publicly. So, kind of cool.
Yeah, and for that, I mean, somebody doing that, absolutely hats off to.
Let's go to Andromedan. What race or races of ETs use the most nanotechnology for health?
That'd be the Pleiadians. Second to them would be the Ennead. The Ennead are what humans would consider the Egyptian gods. But the Pleiadians are definitively, they're the ones that focus on health. The Reticulans are the ones that focus on the hybridization program.
Do they use that just for themselves, or do they use it to help people as well?
Oh, they use it across the board. The Pleiadians are an absolutely neutral focused species that literally aims at making everybody healthy. They don't even participate in picking sides in a war, which is probably a good thing given some of their technological advances. But they're the ones that use the majority, that use the most. Now, I'm calling it nanotechnology. They literally use biotech. Okay. If you take a look at just trying to think of the name offhand. Oh, the Xenon. They use technology. Now I suspect they're probably more adept at nanotech, as you know, as people seem to know it, because they are a robotic-based race. We've had a heck of a time convincing them that they're going down the wrong road.
How do the ETs decide who they heal and who they don't, if they have these abilities to heal people?
I'd love to give you a definite answer on that. It really boils down to, as near as I've been able to piece together, it's almost an individual thing that is permitted. The consortium permits it on a limited level with certain individuals. I.e., if you've got somebody that's been dealing with humans for a long time and knows of a specific situation, they may be granted periodic permission to put somebody back together. But exactly how they know, or how it gets decided specifically, I just don't know. I just don't have an answer for you.
Right. All right, let's move on to another question. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Have you ever had any interaction with the Jinn?
Yes. Wonderful people, but a little flighty. A little too direct for their
Before you start on that,
Yes, so.
Keith, before you start on that, we always have people listening in who may not know what the Jinn are.
Oh, my apologies. See, this is why you're on that side. The Jinn are a race of people that literally, by human standard, are extremely magical. In all fairness, they simply understand the quantum mechanics on a level way beyond human. But the Jinn are on the whole, a very peaceful race. That is very intent on positive communication with other races. They unfortunately have a tendency of being a little direct in their responses, which may or may not be a good thing, depending on what you did. But I certainly wouldn't be fearing them.
Andromedan's asking, are the Pleiadians' physiology different than humans on Earth?
In as much as the Pleiadians, all of their cells perform the same functions as the different organs that humans have. But the physiology of how they process food and what have you, like for instance, they sit down, they sit down and eat like humans do. They are bipedal, but they cannot breathe human air. Mind you, humans can't breathe their air either. So, if you ever see a ship that looks like a silver cigar with no windows, that's a Pleiadian ship. If it's got windows, it's not a Pleiadian.
Okay. Let's go to Chris Teen here. Keith, have you ever had healing or positive experiences with ET or their craft?
Yes. And when I was a kid, the Talon snapped my right arm so badly that I literally, until about 10 years ago, I had never felt my right shoulder with my right arm. It had never been able to line up that way. If I put my arm out and curled it at the elbow, my hand would be off to the right of my shoulder. I'd never physically touched my shoulder with my right hand. I couldn't do it. And then about 10 years ago, I woke up one morning and I literally told my girlfriend at the time that it felt like somebody had cut my arm off and reattached it. 2 nights in a row this happened. And after the second night, I was talking to my girlfriend, and I reached up, and my right shoulder was itchy, and I never thought about it. I just reached up with my right hand, and I grabbed hold of my shoulder to scratch it. And I'll tell you, it threw me for a loop and a half. But aside from being thrown back here, that's the most poignant one that I've run into.
I don't know when I had the experience with my father in a dream state where my father lives 4.5 hours away from me. And I don't know if I was healed or not that day, but it sure felt like it. I remember prior, I was starting to get worried because in my left upper portion where my heart is, I kept on feeling like pain. And I was really close to going to the doctor to get it checked out because it had been a couple of days and I didn't want to think that maybe I was, preparing for a jammer or anything like that. And I remember waking up that morning. I knew I had been taken the night before. I knew my father was there. And I remember all of a sudden that morning, that one spot in my chest, it was ice cold compared to my body. And it was about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit bigger. And I'm just curious, Keith, how do we know if we've been healed or not? I mean, it's pretty obvious if it's something big, but what if it's internal and we have no recognition of it?
Well, the reality is if you don't have any recognition of it, you won't know. It's sort of from that standpoint, the best way I can tell you is you're going to feel different. And it's not going to be that stubborn, I don't want to deal with this anymore. It's just not going to register. And if you have to be in touch with the doctor, it may show up in blood work that something is no longer the way it was, which will confuse them to no end. But the reality is the minor things you may not notice at all.
4.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continuing here on Spaced Out Radio as we go to our next question from, let's go to Mel. Our Keith, can you tell us about the crystal skulls?
They are a wonderful little concoction. They are actually literally a transspatial communication device. There are 13 of them. One will be different than the rest, and you won't find 30. I don't mean you'll find necessarily 13 on Earth. Okay, there will be one that is a major hub, but those skulls were literally, how do I put this? They come from the Atlantean homeworld. They were literally, the skulls themselves were literally a communication device to link the Atlantean ships together.
How did they make it here?
Well, because the ships crash landed here. You've heard of Atlantis.
Yes.
That's a whole conversation. But there was a fleet of 13 ships that ran into a problem one had to set down. So when we talk about Atlantis sinking into the sea, no. Don't get me wrong. There are ruins there. The Bimini Islands are a site that Atlantis used to be on. But there were 12 other sites that were linked to it. But those skulls are a communication line.
What other powers do they have? Do they have healing powers? Do they have download abilities? Why are we so intrigued?
You'd call them download, but ultimately they're communication. Okay. They are capable of auditory, olfactory, and optical resonance. They are not a physical transport device. However, they do have one other little advantage that I doubt you'll ever see on Earth. You can mount them into a crystalline body, and they now become a fully functional automaton, because those individual skulls all act of their own accord at the same time as they can relay information. They are independent communication devices. Ultimately, they were built to maintain continuity throughout the empire, throughout the Atlantean Empire.
I can see that. I can totally appreciate that. Let's move on. Let's go to Sarah. I found a small 4-fingered handprint in the snow shortly after a sighting. Any idea what type of being has 4 digits and is child size?
Well, my first thought would be you could have been looking, if it's a handprint, you're probably looking at Berondi. Okay. They were originally, at one point they were off-world. They have set up on Earth, more to the point, in Hollow Earth. But the Berondi are essentially the size of a goblin. They're 2.5, 3 feet tall. But they're your most likely. There are a number of others. I mean, the Ituari, I doubt you'd see one in the snow. And their hands are way too small.
Damn small head.
The Ituari?
Well, so what about the childlike grays?
Well, number one, there were if it were a gray handprint, your index finger is way too long for it to look like a human child.
Okay. Little people.
If you remember, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes, we only got 20 seconds.
Okay, take a look at the hands on those guys, or on ET for that matter. But the reticulans, the hand shape is wrong.
All right. Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to come back. We got our Keith Andrews and the Q&A on the ET Encounters show here. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okie doke. So how are things going on your end?
Things are going great. Absolutely great, man.
Good. Glad to hear it.
I've got so much work to do over the next couple of days on our store. I just moved it over to Shopify today as well.
Yeah,
So-
I heard you mention that.
So it's kind of cool. Kind of scary, because I'm doing things that I'm not very comfortable with. But is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble staying focused because of what my brothers have put me through and what the medical profession turned around and did. That was cute.
I hear you, buddy.
Well, there's an announcement for you. World Cup is in Vancouver in June.
I'm allergic to soccer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you haven't already, be like Jules. Give us a thumbs up. Helps with the algorithms. We'd appreciate it.
Well, that one we should definitely get to from T-Bone.
Brad Pitbull, how you doing? Yeah, I'm just scrolling down here.
Yeah.
I love that question. That is a good question.
The one that I mentioned there by T-Bone?
Yeah.
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 I'm actually in the process of writing a number of enhanced books called Meet the Name of Race. And the grades I've actually got. I've got the start of the descriptions for them. Because that I'm aware of, there's at least 15. Somebody's going to get hurt.
A couple seconds here, buddy. Caught in there. And we got about a minute to go. Thank you to T-Bone for gifting a membership. To Roswell and Amy for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, everybody. We do not have ugly swag. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. We definitely want you to do that. And yeah, can buy on Shopify too. It works. I think it works. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is kicked off. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Continuing here on the big show. Right before we bring Keith back on, we want to remind all of you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, final half hour, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We're going to continue on with questions from our audience till the top of the hour. Keith, thank you so much for being here.
And thanks so much for having me.
Ready for more?
Absolutely.
Let's go to Kimberly. Have you ever eaten a meal with any aliens? If so, what do they eat?
Well, fortunately, the short answer is yes. Their diets, some of what they eat, there is no way I'm eating. Number one, I can't digest it. However, they do go out of their way to make certain when there are members of other races at their table, that they make certain that the dietary requirements of the other races are dealt with. Some of the eating habits, you're welcome to participate, but it's not expected. You know, I'm pretty certain it was when I was sitting down for a meal with the Sanguinan that I found out that I actually like True Blood wine.
Right. Don't blame you.
Although on this planet, it's not likely to get you in anybody's good books.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. Let's move on to another question here. Let's go to Luscious Jules. Do different types of off-worlders that track families use the same mechanism to track?
Absolutely not. Every species develops its own method of technology and comprehension, and their own parameters for what they're tracking. I mean, you take a look at the Moldog. They track human families literally by footprint in olfactory resonance. But they track them because they use them for hunting purposes. And yes, I mean that quite literally.
Well, it works. It works. That's okay. Let's move on to another one. Let's go to Tracy. Have you ever had any cryptid encounters?
Oh, yeah. The illustrious, number one, the Waclonicon, which you know is Sasquatch. I've dealt with them hands-on. And I've seen the Ogopogo up here. I was driving at the time, so I didn't want to get any closer.
How big was it?
I have no way of telling you that. From where I was, now you've been in Kelowna, Dave. You know the top of the hill coming down towards the bridge?
Yes.
When I saw the Ogopogo, I was at the top of the hill, and it looked from that angle to reach from the bridge to just about the lift at the main lift on that hill. I cannot begin to guess how long that is.
I don't know if I would ever swim in Lake Okanagan again after seeing that.
That's okay. I wasn't swimming at the time. I was in the car. Um, you know, but I'm pretty certain. I'm almost absolutely certain that that thing is a long-necked plesiosaur, which should have been extinct about 120 million years ago.
Many people believe that. Many people believe that they're around Okanagan Lake, that there are a number of caverns and lakes underground where this creature is hiding.
And I can pretty much, I can, for what it's worth, I can vouch for that one. That's because there are lakes, Lake Okanagan, through underground channels, links up with the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, it does.
And since Ogopogo does not require air to survive, it can stay down there for a while.
Definitely. Especially if there is food source in there too.
Oh, there is. A lot of the plants that were wiped out on Earth, on the surface of the Earth, are still thriving in Hollow Earth. Yeah, and I did finally come across a reference point where I can tell you we have the surface Earth, we have Hollow Earth, and we have inner Earth. They are 3 different places, but all interconnected.
How did you figure that out?
Well, go there and check around for a bit. It's the easy way to do it. Basically, it boils down to this. Inner Earth is where you'll find most of your elementals. Hollow Earth is where most of your corporeals live. And then they can come and go. But most of them abandon the surface because of the speed that, with mankind evolving as fast as it did and being as aggressive as it was, they had little choice but to go down. The one species that went off-world, one of the species that went off-world was the Anunnaki. And there are skeletons all over the place on the surface of Earth that show, that we know are the Anunnaki. Take a look at the size of them. But they evolved on Earth and then asked to leave because they knew there was no way they would be compatible with humans.
Let's move on to another question, Keith. Let's go to Greg here, who is asking, what about the lady? The lady being like a religious deity that experiencer Chris Bledsoe has had encounters with. Do you have any opinion on the lady?
There are a number of possibilities. I don't know specifically which one he's referring to, but I do know that there is one of literally, and I'm going to put it this way because it's the way I know it. Okay, one of the people that we'll call it claimed credit for helping build Earth, for orchestrating Earth, is a woman, and I'll use the term woman by physiological configuration only. Her abilities are way beyond human. But if he's been talking to her, that would be intriguing. I would be fascinated to find out what message he's been getting.
Very true. Very true. It would be kind of impressive to see, to be blunt.
Yeah, it would be.
I don't know whether or not the lady is real. If Chris Bledsoe believes it is, who am I to say that he's wrong? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and this is why I refuse to use people's names.
Yeah, and you know what? It's his experience. He's allowed to do that. So let's move on to another question. Let's go to the Doug Shelby. Keith, do ETs partake in any sort of adult beverages?
Absolutely, just not necessarily human ones.
You ever had
Every species has its version of adult beverage, adult entertainment, and illicit drugs. Okay, they've all got them. They've all gone through. Every one of the member societies of the Galactic Consortium have had the same. They've had the same sort of pattern, if you will. This is one of the things that's got their attention. Okay, because humans right now are right on the verge of, from a xeno-socioeconomic standpoint, they are on the verge of either opening the door to a one-world government and an evolution you're not going to believe, or blowing mankind out of existence and all the way back to the Stone Age. But that's your guys' call. And yeah, I've seen this done multiple times over the past millennia.
Keep it going. Let's go to Shelley. How can experiencers either be harmed or not?
Well, I would almost say flip of the coin. But no, one of the best things you can do as an experiencer is, number one, do your best to not panic. Because on the whole, as long as we don't take a look at the vegans, on the whole, they're not there to hurt you. Okay? The vegans have no pain center. They have no comprehension at all of pain, either mental or physical. So they don't make any allowance for it. Well, they got no way to make an allowance for it. But most of the species, when they are doing an abduction, they are doing it with the intention of leaving the person in as stable a shape when they return them to Earth as they can possibly get away with.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Let's move on. Let's go to T-Bone. Keith, in your opinion, how many types of grays are there?
That I've documented 15. And I suspect I'll find more.
Right.
Because every time they colonize or get a foothold on another planet, they end up developing there's another break as far as the race goes. And it's caused by atmospheric, by geographic, and experiential modification. Which is why I'm literally putting a book together that details all of those. Because it's way too big to put in. It'll just be a booklet.
What kind of booklet?
Well, I'm literally putting a series together called Meet the, and then the name of the race. So in this case, it would be Meet the Reticulate. I've already got it half done. Of course, my last 3 months was a little bit twisted.
How come?
Oh, I don't know. Got married, died, recovered. Kind of occupied a lot of my time.
Well,
Yeah, excuses. But,
come on. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. I promise you. All right,
this is why I finally got my head on straight and will be pushing everything through the door as quick as I can get it out. Because it's been too long of a delay.
Back to back with T-Bone here. Let's ask about music. In his opinion, music transcends all. Is it the same with aliens?
Ultimately, yes. Music is emotional communication. And this is why it works so well, because it doesn't matter what language you speak. Music is its own language.
Right. Now,
some people will take to country. That would be my downfall. Some people take to pop, some to heavy metal or classic rock. In the off world, you've got things like people taking to the sounds of cosmic dust, or the radio frequency coming through a black hole.
Which makes sense. No?
But again, music itself, literally, the saying that music tames the savage breast is all too real.
Right.
It can also be used to agitate people. This is where the danger, where the intriguing part of music is, because it'll affect people and make them and trigger responses much faster than what language will.
I can see that. And it's funny because that T-Bone would have this question come up, because today I was kind of going through some reels on Facebook, and I was watching this guy play guitar and sing to wild animals at zoos or in somebody's farmyard. And it's amazing how those animals were literally, coming right up to him and just, like even lions and tigers and elephants and rhinoceroses were just absolutely loving it, Keith.
Yeah. And needless to say, he wasn't speaking rhino.
Right. I could see that. It was all about the music. It was all about the beat. It was all about kind of everything.
Yeah. And music says so much more than words ever will. This is one of the reasons why, when you take a look at the way the Udina write, it is something that is phenomenal. It's amazingly complex.
I don't blame you. I don't blame it.
If you think, if you ever watched the show, what was it called? Visitor? Where it showed the great big egg-shaped ship that showed up.
Right.
Arrival.
Okay.
Okay. Those are Udina. The only thing they did, and they didn't have a choice, the only thing that the producer and director did incompletely was they put the writing in a two-dimensional form against the window. The reality is the Udina write in a three-dimensional bubble.
Can you blame them?
Not in the slightest. It's kind of like when you take a look at the hieroglyphs in the Egyptian pyramids.
Yes.
Those, on top of being hieroglyphs that you can read the way that humans have been reading them, they are also a circuit board that links the different pyramids together. Now there's a news flash for you.
We have 5 minutes to go with you, Keith. Let's burn through a couple more questions. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Is there a single off-world race that stores, maintains the DNA of life forms that have been created throughout time, or does that require multiple off-world races to do so?
Ultimately, the Akashic Records, which is manned, was created and is currently manned by the Zertics, holds all of that information. Although individual species do keep their own database. But the Zertics have a complete one since time began, since third dimensional time this rendition began. And if I remember correctly, they've even got some stuff from prior renditions. Check with it. They do, and they brought information from, when I call it a rendition, of the Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Well, the Zertics live through that. There's a few other species that do, but the Zertics have kept the records all the way through it.
Okay. And how do they do that?
Well, when you take it out, humans think of data as written information. The Zerziks don't. They do not have a corporeal form per se. They are an energy being. So they simply take the information and tie it together.
Let's go to Kimberly. Dave, do you think that we have Ogopogo creatures in Canham Lake or Lac La Hache? There are bottomless holes in both areas, as far as I've heard. I have not heard any stories of sea monsters in either of those lakes. Sorry, Kim. Let's go to Blue Cruise again. After each time the off-worlders return you to your home key, does the paranormal activity increase around you and others?
Around others, it seems to. Around me, I don't notice.
What usually happens?
Well, in this house, I kid you not, the number of times that something literally goes missing to show up somewhere it never should have been is amazing. You know, when I went to Utah to get married, I took my 2 healing stones with me. They went missing in Utah. I get back here, and a week later, they're back in my house. Now, I didn't go back to Utah to find them. You know, and this is just an ongoing thing, but it seems to pick up once I've had a run.
Well, that would make sense. That would make sense. Let's go to T-Bone. Speaking of cryptids, do other races keep pets like Dove, his dog?
Well, the short answer is yes. Okay. You know, as in all species have their own pets. Some you'd look at them going, why would you have that as a pet? Well, the reality is different people have different requirements for pets. Okay. And some of the pets, you know, it can be a little backwards, where when you figure out what the pet is, sometimes it works out the pet is not the pet, but is the owner. But yeah, every species I know of has their own pets. Some of them have bigger pets than others.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Let's go next to, let's see here. Who do we have? I want to try and fit in one more here. I like this question from Corey. Were any famous musicians alien or part alien?
Not that I'm aware of. Much more importantly, even if I knew, I wouldn't be doing that, telling anybody.
Why not?
Well, because it's their story to tell. It's kind of like ousting somebody in the middle of a situation. However, are there any that are in a politically dominant position? We can safely say no, because they're forbidden. They cannot run major corporations or countries, and they cannot permit. The consortium forbids them doing that, on pain of wiping out the world that houses the primary, secondary, and tertiary governments. So they pretty much avoid doing that. But it would not be a shock to find that some humans, you know, some people have either hybrid or some off-world DNA. Specifically which ones, couldn't tell you. Of course, in all fairness, I don't listen to them anyway.
Keith, thank you very much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio. We'll talk to you next year. And coming up next, Swamp Dweller and Extra Small joins us, the Q&A.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Great job tonight, Keith.
Thank you very much. Glad
All right,
to be back.
What's that?
I say glad to be back.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next year, buddy.
Absolutely. Don't work too hard.
I know we'll talk before that, but show-wise, we'll talk to you next year.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Good night, buddy. Our Keith Andrews. I'll be right back, everyone. right. Let me just put a hat on here. Why do I put a hat on? For extra small Lee Strauss.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic, man.
The audio sounds great. Did you end up having that a convo?
The
Talked
conversation?
about earlier today?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ozzy Ange, how are you? Are you happy about that?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Good things were said.
All right, we got about 18 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone for the gifting of a membership, Roswell, Amy, and 2 for the super chats. Love it. Love the support. Thank you very, very much. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate burning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What you got for us, Clam? Panophobia. Panophobia is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. So this happened in February or late January of 2015. My friends and I decided to try an urban exploring wooded area investigation. I wasn't really in the condition to walk or run because I had recently suffered a pretty intense concussion. Weeks of research into this place was hyping me and Steven up. The site, Forest Haven, was a local asylum and institution for people with mental and intellectual disabilities. From what I've read, they once committed a Haitian woman with an intelligence deficit. She couldn't speak English, and they thought it was easier to commit her to the asylum and forget. More atrocities there involved dozens of patients strapped into beds with the restraint altering their bones to the point that they looked deformed with congenital disabilities. A lot of kids and mentally impaired adults suffered from asphyxiation. I'll put more links in the description with related articles if you'd like to learn more. I'm talking more about my experience and just needed to set up the context. Alright, so we decided to park on the opposite side of the asylum. If you Google it, the first photo you see is a small church and school-like building on a small path leading to the asylum. I'm not sure if it was part of it, but it most likely was. Unfortunately, the entirety of that building was caved in, so the chance of us exploring it was very minimal. We didn't have any rope or anything to pull us up. We decided to continue onward and through some incredibly thick forest and brush. We had to climb over a massive tree on the only animal path in sight. The more and more we walked in, the eerier the atmosphere became. I saw something white out of the corner of my eye, and man, I was not disappointed. White notes, paper sheets, just random paper sheets strewn throughout the primary forest before the asylum. I swear to God it felt like the Slender Man game. Besides my buddy Travis being spooked, Steven and I were in high spirits. Bandanas on our faces, knives in our hands, flashlights and phones. We wore all black hoodies except for Travis. As we passed the notes and reached the end of the forest, we saw the eeriness of the most prominent building on the asylum grounds. It had abandoned semi-trailers there to rust for eternity. Not entirely sure why though. I ran as fast as we could to the building to stay covered. As we reached the first half of the enormous building, we turned on our flashlights and walked inside. I saw beds those children died on. I saw disgusting rooms with pillows and mattresses that were strewn about. I'm a firm atheist, but that place made me uncomfortable. Incredibly uncomfortable. There was loads of graffiti too. Some disrespectful and others comment on the duality of man. Some of it was racial slurs and swastikas. Stephen and I felt so pumped and alert. I loved the rush the asylum brought. Travis took pictures and Stephen and I cracked jokes about him being scared. The other rooms were pretty well lit, with windows removed and sunlight glowing through. But this room was something dark. Just incredibly dark. It had snowed about 1 week prior, and the snow was almost completely melted at this point. And this day wasn't too bad. It was 55 to 60 degrees. There was a huge ice pillar. I don't know if Travis photographed it or not. I understood that ice wouldn't melt in the shade, but the sheer size of this pillar, from roof to ceiling of at least 12 feet, and a tree trunk around it in circumference, that's when it dawned on me. Maybe I didn't fully understand it then, but a few things that wouldn't happen anywhere else happened at that place. After being spooked thoroughly in the icy dark room, we climbed onto the roof and saw the melted snow in a substantial watery pile seeping through, looking as if it were going to collapse at any moment. We didn't dare walk past the dry areas of the roof and decided to get off a different way. So as we explored the biggest building, we made our way to the main building. As we entered this decrepit, ancient building, it's the ice room all over again. The doors were rusted and broken, rooms tossed and ransacked. I climbed up into a level by myself since the staircase was blocked by some desk and wall shelves. I found nothing but sand in the staircase landing. This is in the middle of Maryland, nowhere near a beach, and this staircase was covered in sand. It wasn't concrete, crushed rock, or fine sand. It belonged on a shitty Maryland beach. For whatever reason, this made me terrified. I spoke to Stephen and Travis through a hole in the floor. They had been seeing a security guard roaming the area, and we were probably going to need to leave soon. I climbed the metal barrier on the landing, climbed down and met with Stephen and Travis. We went out a window on the first floor, hid behind random metal barrels or something of that sort, and saw the car drive away. Travis was so freaking nervous that I started panicking. That's when he and Stephen took off in a sprint, and I chased after them, being slower than all of them, unfortunately. Even though I wasn't as incompetent shape as them, I sprinted my ass out of there. As soon as we got to the forest, I was about 50 yards deep from the edge, touching the asylum grounds, and they were about a 50-yard ahead of me. I saw the groundskeeper. He didn't stop chasing after us. We ran fast through the thicket, jumping over branches, avoiding the giant tree, and watching out for the abandoned building back to Stephen's car. We all got into the car and drove. There were no words said. All of our heartbeats were through the roof, and I cannot even replicate how fantastic and equally terrifying that day was.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring the bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every night. You'll never get through them all. Well, you probably will, but it'll take you a couple of years. Time for Lee Strauss.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call? He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
That song just sets the mood for every time you come on. How you doing, Lee Strauss?
I need to make that a ringtone.
Why not, man? Why not?
Absolutely.
You got your own theme song. That's what it's about.
It's about, hanging out with you, Dave, and going over the interesting news of the week.
You know what I absolutely do not like about winter? And I love winter. Don't get me wrong. I love winter. Okay. But what I don't like about it is I do not like the idea of missing out on investigative times.
Mm,
I
that's
don't
what I
like
mean.
that.
Yep, you're cooped up during the winter. But on my show, we were actually talking about that and how during the fall and then in the wintertime, all the leaves are out of the tree and you can see deeper into the forest.
I
So,
get that, and I agree with you there, but when you live in a climate where like I do, where
mm,
the snow goes and kind of, makes things a little bit more difficult, that's what I don't like.
yeah. Well, I can
That's what
definitely understand, I don't like going out when it's pouring down rain.
I would sooner go out in the rain than the snow.
Hmm.
And the snow is easier because of the tracks and everything, but the areas where I want to go to, I can't get to. Don't like
Yeah.
it.
Well, maybe you need to have a snow machine or what are they called? Snow machine.
I need a plow. That's what I need.
Something.
I need a plow.
Something. I can't think of it. What the heck are they called? The thing that runs on the big track in the snow.
Snow plow?
Snow machine. No, the
Snow blower?
snow. I don't know. I've lost it. There it is. Snowmobile. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, the snowmobile. It's not. I need more snow for snowmobiling. I don't have a snowmobile.
Right. All right.
Would I like one? Probably. Probably. But
Yeah.
I see guys all the time here, doing their thing. So it's all good, my man. It's all good. So what else is new? What's happening in your neck of the woods here?
Well, not a whole lot. Tammy's coming up next week. We were hoping we could escape to Mount Baker to do a little bit investigation, but right now it sounds like it's going to be super wet. We're expecting over an inch of rain next Monday, and then throughout the week we're expecting over 5 inches. So it doesn't sound like a good time to me to be out and about.
Heavy rain. That is some heavy, heavy rain. Don't like that when that happens.
No.
Don't like that at all. Let's get into some UFO talk here, because the one thing that I've been reading up on, Lee, lately is there seems to be a lot of commercial airline pilots once again talking about encounters with UFOs in the sky. These craft, and a couple of them that I have read recently, tend to almost mimic the flight pattern of the airliner, and then they take off. They shoot right up into the stars, and poof, they're gone. What do you think's going on here recently?
Well, I think there's a lot of information coming out about ufology from our government and from people in Congress, and in that I think somehow they know that this is happening, like as if we're waking up to the fact that they're here. And I'm mostly speaking about people that don't believe in the subject or don't believe in ufology. It just seems like it's more common now. I mean, I turn on YouTube and then there's like an NBC short about UFOs, and so it's obviously getting spread out there to other news channels now, more and more so. So maybe they're just coming by. You figure a plane's full of passengers, right? So and they possibly are going to see something out the window, and then the pilots here are obviously going to use their phones and record that sort of thing happening. So I believe it's just disclosure on their terms, on the ET's terms.
I think so too. But here's the thing that I'm very interested in. I want to get your opinion on this, okay? Because I think what's happening here doesn't matter whether you're in Canada or the United States, because we are both in North America. I think what's happening is we're seeing a lot of people now kind of pushing themselves to talk about it and file these reports. I think pilots are getting much more confident that they aren't going to lose their jobs. They aren't going to get grounded for it. They aren't going to, get mocked or ridiculed because of talking about it. And I think that is a good thing that's happening here. I really do believe that's a good thing that's happening. Okay, the downside to that, Lee, is they're not telling us what airlines, they're not telling us what's really going on. They're not telling us how many pilots saw it or how it happened or whatever. They're not giving us that information. They're still being quite quiet about that. And I find that a little interesting because the reports are great. Let's be honest. The reports are great. But if we're not going to see what happens and they're not going to give us more detail, what's the purpose of putting it out there? Yeah, a pilot saw something. Big deal. I want to know more. I'm curious. What are they seeing? Right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the thing earlier this week that you sent me a picture, and I said, well, I would like to see the metadata because that metadata shows me a lot, for pilots that see these craft. You want to know what part of the country did they see them in, or, where on earth did they see these craft? Are there more concentrations of craft in one area or another area? What are we dealing with here? What was your, not necessarily your flight speed, but what was the altitude that you were traveling at when you saw this? There's all kinds of really good information that we could use and discern different facts for ourselves if we could get that type of information.
I think you're right on that. I really do believe that you're right on that. And we could get better information if we do more. Right? They should try and help us out with that. But they're not going to.
No.
They're totally not going to. They don't want to. But, I mean, here's the story. If you go back to the famed Japan Airlines 747 encounter in the 1980s over Alaska, where they allegedly came into contact with not only round orbs, but they also came into contact with what they believe was a giant mothership. The plane was grounded at Elmendorf Air Force Base. The military and government agencies drilled the experienced pilots for hours about what they saw, describing everything. Japan Airlines, when they got back to Japan, fired the pilot of 29 years who had an impeccable record because he brought embarrassment to the airline by reporting this. Now, eventually, under public scrutiny, they gave him his job back because he was a professional. But we're seeing now more and more pilots getting more comfortable reporting it to the FAA, reporting it up here in Canada to NAV Canada. And I believe that's a good road to be stepping on and walking on. But if it's happening, do you think that they are not telling us the full details because they don't want the public to stop flying out of fear that they may see or be interacted with a UFO?
I don't think it's that. They want control. Our government, your government, wants control over this subject. So that stuff that leaks out on the sides and on the fringes of the subject, with these pilots, they probably don't even want that to get out. But with everything being so much more open about the subject, things are going to happen more and more like that. People are going to report those things. I don't think they're worried about people being scared to fly. What I think they're concerned about is this subject growing larger and larger and larger. And they're eventually it's all going to come out, and the people that have such tight reins around the materials that they have, the downed craft and that sort of thing, are going to eventually have to open up and say, yeah, we do have this, we've been working on it. I think it's going to come to the point where, if we keep going down this road that we're on, eventually it's all of this stuff's going to come out and they're going to lose control.
Well, I mean, the way they seem to be planning a disclosure that is very, very heavily censored, can you really blame them?
Well, they've censored it, and they've done that for their own selfish reasons. Yes, some of this stuff, of course, because we don't need to know or let people know what we're working with here. We don't need to let China and Russia and North Korea know what kind of tech we've got, and where we're at. We want to keep that stuff secret, of course, but I think it really stems from that, and the fact that they're, the potential for them to make so much money on this sort of research and the things that they can come to market with, and of course they're going to turn everything at first into weapons, if they can, because that's where a lot of money is.
Very true. Very true. And it does come down to the money. It always comes down to the money, one way or another. It always comes down to the budget and the money and what they want to do with it. So my question to you then, if that is happening with airline pilots, do we think we're going to see more of these type of reports?
I do think we're going to see more and more. In fact, you're going to see more military people step forward and say, I saw this. I think we're in the age of disclosure now. And I really don't think that's going to stop I don't think it's ever going to stop, actually. It's going to continue because we're going to continue to learn. The fact that the bleeding edge of ufology right now is the psionics and the abductions and that sort of stuff that sounds way far out there, but we're gonna release more of that information as we go. We're going way into the woo with all of this. You probably want to run break here soon, but the whole thing, Dave, is the reason I started doing this is after the stuff that happened to me. I wanted to show people that this was real, and that's why I gathered up the equipment that I got, and I went out in the field and I started doing the type of research that I do. I got to turn that down. The type of research that I do, so that I could show the public, listen, this stuff is real. This stuff is happening to people. You should, look into it yourself, or maybe I can change your mind. So it's just getting bigger and bigger.
It really is. When we return, from the break at the bottom of the hour, there was a couple of real interesting UFO encounters across the United States this past week. And there's one in one of our radio station hometowns that actually had eyewitnesses watching a huge black triangle in Arizona. Shades of the Phoenix Lights of 1997. Lee, I know this one's going to excite you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's going to happen, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to telling you this story, and I want to get your opinion on another big black triangle over the sky of Arizona. Because there's no skies. There's only one sky out there, people.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, buddy.
Just to let you know, I do have my company Christmas party next Friday. So.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Well, look at you.
Yep.
Where are you guys going, to the bingo hall?
No, there's a venue here in Tacoma, downtown Tacoma, that's going to have it, and then we're going to stay at the hotel nearby.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
That'll be good.
Yep. But yeah, like you're saying, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of people coming forward right now. I can't even keep up with it. There's so much. It's not like before where you would look for stories about people seeing stuff and that. You turn on YouTube now and there's people stepping forward left and right.
Oh, yeah.
About it.
Agreed, people. Totally agreed. You know, I've been going through our Shopify account because I set up a Shopify account for us earlier today.
Okay.
Right? I didn't realize how many really cool logos we have until it was time to publish them on Shopify. I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's like 8 pages of 12. There's like 96 pieces of things that I've done. I'm looking at all this and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I mean, I'm happy about it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. But, I mean, you get a cool logo. And let's face it, we don't have ugly swag. We don't.
No.
Right? You've seen it personally. You've got some. You know it's not ugly.
No. I like our swag a lot.
Yeah.
And I love the designs that you come up with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just go by, people who want to chew their food, right?
You got to chew your food, man.
If you don't chew your food, you're in trouble.
Big time.
Right?
As we found out when I was up there with you.
You got to chew your food.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. You don't have a choice. If you're not chewing your food, bad things are going to happen. Lee Strauss, 101, right there.
That's right.
Just saying.
Well, the pain comes in many ways if you don't chew your food.
That's why Lee Strauss has the Chew Your Food t-shirt on the Spaced Out Radio store. Oh my God, buddy. You just kill me. You kill me. I love it. And I'm happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I love you, my man. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize we had so many baseball caps on here. It's like, holy cow. Baseball caps galore.
Yeah.
On. Who does this many ball caps?
Well, it's really good to have a selection too, I think that's super important. So many people will have just like a shirt and a hoodie. Maybe 2 designs, but if you've got a variety, you're going to have something for everyone.
We do. We got something for everybody. What that is, I don't know. I don't know.
I do like the kicks a lot.
I got to put those back on.
I do
I
like
do
it.
have to put those back on. Right? Those are nice, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why is it?
We got to have like a construction shirt, a high vis one.
I do have some high vis. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Yeah, Earth, that's where we live. Yep. Want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Lee Strauss is here from our YouTube channel show, Element 115, where he comes in each and every week for a little ditty we call the Q&A, get into the latest and greatest UFO news. Now, we broadcast out of Apache Junction on the Rattler. Len Novin probably listening in right now while he's pumping weights, probably bench pressing about 400 as we speak. Literally, guy is jacked, very much jacked. Well, apparently, Lee, people in Apache Junction and Mesa, Arizona, just a few nights ago, had a massive silent black triangle moving low and slow across the sky. This is what witnesses claim to have heard or seen. Well, they heard nothing because it was quiet. They said it was about the size of a football field. They felt an electrical, and even heard a little bit, an electrical hum. Several homes of people who witnessed this actually experienced a brief power dip as it flew over. No aircraft were scheduled or tracked in the area at that time. And the SRP, the power utility company, is reportedly checking for grid anomalies as we speak, similar to what happened in 1997 when the Phoenix Lights incident happened and caused electromagnetic signatures. Another giant black triangle, man. When they get that big, the size of a football field, that's where I kind of believe that that's not American. Let's face it. Let's just say it's not American, because we know China, Russia, the space pirates, Iran, Syria, okay, even Missile Boy there in North Korea, we know they don't have it. So let's just say I don't think it's American made. Lord knows Canada doesn't have it, because we're still flying the first delivery of CF-18 Hornets that were made in 1980. Okay? So, big black triangle, deep hum, your thoughts?
Triangles have been seen for a long, long time. I tend to think shapes like that remind me of our own stealth aircraft. That's where my mind automatically goes. However, there's more than one race out there visiting our planet. So it's very possible it's just another a species that has these things as well. It's interesting to me with the power dip that they had, that kind of anomaly, because that's been talked about forever, even with investigators' equipment going dead, batteries going dead, and things happening with their recorders and that sort of thing. So vehicles, in fact, getting shut off, but a massive black object. You don't see those during the day too often, do you?
No.
It's usually at night, and there must be a reason for that they fly around at night, mostly because they're, are not seen. So they're trying not to be seen. And they don't make much of a noise. So there's that. So maybe they're on some sort of a recon. There's a lot of bases, government bases down that way. And so maybe they're just checking in on those.
I can see that. I see where you're going with that. But I also look at the fact that I was hoping for more. I want another Phoenix light so bad, man. Like I can taste it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
How many do we know how many people saw this thing, or did anybody report
only
it?
about 30 people reported it.
Okay.
So it must not have been in for a very long time.
Yeah. And when your mind gets into the weeds like mine does, I wonder as well if we aren't doing something like that too, to see how many people see it, and more like a covert ops type thing, just to see how the public reacts. Or is it that we're doing stuff like this to help break the ice and make it more well known? I mean, my mind goes all over the place when this sort of thing happens. What is it? What's the agenda? Why are they doing it? Who is it? Those are all valid questions for everybody to be asking at this time about anything like that.
Oh, I for sure agree with you. I for sure agree with you on that wholeheartedly. I mean, we really don't know truly what's happening or why it's happening or anything like that. Right?
Right. So
we really don't.
It's up for grabs. We don't know if there's radar returns on this object. We don't know any of those things that we would like to know. But this whole thought, or this whole idea of a mothership type craft, like the one that was seen in Alaska, really gets me interested. It's hard to imagine. The larger the craft, the more mind-boggling it is, because how is that thing? What is the power source of something that large? It's remember Star Wars. I think it was the second movie where they went to the Cloud City with Lando, and you saw those big buildings that were floating in the clouds, or they were basically floating in the clouds. And when you're talking about a mothership, that's the kind of thing I think about. Just these massive craft that are not, just possibly homes for these ETs, but it's also like everything in there, shopping malls, schools, whatever they need is in these large giant crafts, similar to a cruise liner, basically, that you could live on for who knows how long. I mean, if we had technology like that, holy cow.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Totally agree with you.
It just, your mind just wanders, and your thirst for more, you know what I mean? For more sightings like that, so that you can learn as much as you can. And the other thing is with the black triangle, the size of a football stadium, or football stadium, I'll say stadium. How many entities are on board? Do they all have their individual purposes? Are they all scientists looking for different things? It's obvious that they're studying this planet. They're studying the people. They're studying the fauna. They're studying everything that's here.
What about the flora?
The,
You can't
of
have
course, the
flora
flora
without
and the fauna. Yeah,
fauna and without flora.
the flora, all of that. So, yeah, yes, absolutely. It could be the secret space force as well. You're right. It could be a lot of things, but where this goes, who knows? But hopefully, it just keeps inching forward. Right? We keep inching forward. We keep learning more, and eventually, we'll get there.
Here's another one I found very interesting for you is apparently there is another United States Navy recovery team looking for metallic spheres, roughly 4 feet in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this was observed entering the ocean at high speed. Now, I've talked to a number of people, Lee, over time that have said, watch the oceans. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't do the ocean. Scared of the ocean. Okay. Love the creatures that are in there. Love watching scuba diving videos, things like that. People finding things. But the ocean's not for me because I'm a meal. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not like you, Lee, who, is like 138 pounds of muscle. Okay. Solid muscle at 138 right there. Bench pressing 3 times your weight. Okay. I'm not that guy. I'll be honest with you. If a shark or, a barracuda swam up to me and said, hey, what is this? They're going to look at me and say, that's a meal. That's a meal. But anyways, apparently a lot of things hiding in the ocean. So this source that came out with this U.S. Navy recovery team looking for this 4-foot sphere allegedly described it as the surface of it looked liquid but solid at the same time. There were no seams, no openings, no marks, and it was extremely heavy for its size. Is this a Boogosphere 2.0? We really don't know. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't like being on the water, but for ufologists, the ocean is kind of perfect, because once you're on the ocean, you can see 3 miles before the curve of the earth starts to happen. So you got 3 miles in all directions, right? That you can see. So if there was something going to happen, not only are you got a great view of the sky, you got a great view of the ground and everywhere else. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of ufologers, go out to research on the ocean. Most of us try to go to hot spots, but you're dealing with a lot of terrain, generally speaking, when you do that. I'm not a fan of the water either, Dave. I tell you, if I had a chance to go to Catalina Island or be on the water down there, I don't think I would be too happy about that.
No. Dangerous there, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay for like short stints on a lake and that sort of thing or whatever. I do like to kayak, but still I do have a great fear of the water. The thing I think about going out on the water, you got a boat, you got waves, so you're constantly doing this, right? And you're trying to set up camera gear on tripods and that sort of thing. Doesn't work too well when you're on the ocean trying to track an object. So that's difficult. That's why I like setting up, looking at the mountains around here and hitting my hot spots. Maybe from shore, maybe being on shore would be a better idea. Looking out over the ocean. But the spheres, those are pretty common lately. I think the Boogosphere is a bogosphere. to tell you the truth, just because
nice play on words there. Very nice.
Just because of the engravings and how unperfect they are. It looks like somebody did it with a Dremel. It doesn't look as fine detail as I would imagine it should look. So I guess just have to keep an eye out for that sort of thing. People have had them. There was a lady that had one back. I think it was back in the 50s or the 60s. They came across one, and eventually they turned it over to the government. And what the government returned back to them was not the same object that they had before, and they could tell that there was a difference because of a seam that was there that wasn't previously there.
Works for me, my man. There were some Bigfoot stories coming up.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's start off in Washington State, where recently, I don't know if you know where Lake Cushman is.
I do.
Here in Washington State.
Yeah.
Well, a group camping near Lake Cushman recorded 3 long resonant screams echoing through the forest in the Olympic Peninsula. Yeah. This happened around 3 a.m. and the witnesses described, besides the blood-curdling screams, a deep-chested roar unlike an elk or a bear, repeating rhythmic intervals, the sound moving fast across ridge lines. Audio analysts say the pitch and the length are consistent with reported Sasquatch vocalizations, not known wildlife. The clip is now circulating among researchers.
Yeah, Lake Cushman's right over across the water from me here, and I know it well.
Describe the area.
Well, it's a low area that's full of trees. Lake Cushman's there, and there's some, how would I call it, foothills around the lake to the west side of the lake, and yes, a little bit to the north side of the lake too, as well. There's a lot of hiking trails in there. There's a beautiful river that comes into Lake Cushman, and a lot of people will go and mountain bike around that area, hike and camp. There's campsites and pay and non-pay sites as well. But there's a couple homes that are around there, but it's not too. It's not very urbanized, I guess would be the word I would use. There's still a lot of camping. It's still very wooded area. So I don't doubt that. I've actually heard that before, that there is some Bigfoot activity in the area. And this time of year, everything's coming down out of the mountains and getting down to the lower elevations, trying to, stay warmer. And not only that, you'll see a lot of that sort of activity where they'll come down even out to the beaches this time of year as well. And we were talking earlier about the salmon runs that are just now ending. So getting the last salmon of the year. So they're going to head down lower for that as well. Lake Cushman's perfect for all that.
Have you ever had encounters there?
No, I have never.
Would you like to?
But I have on the Olympic Peninsula.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Does not surprise me. All right. Another Bigfoot encounter happened in the province of Alberta, which is next door to me, where I am in British Columbia. Near Nordegg, a hunter discovered a single file trackway stretching nearly 200 meters. So 200 meters, how many feet? I got to figure that out. I understand the meter part, but I don't understand the meters to feet. We'll figure that out for you here momentarily. Let's go 200 meters, which would be 656 feet. Okay. That's a long track line. A very, very long and rare track line. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, I'm not sure if it's a Sasquatch or something else, because the one thing about the snow, and Alberta is filled with snow. Okay. Alberta gets a lot of snow. Now, I'm not degrading this guy's story at all, because it could be true. Okay. But I wonder about it. Footprints were average, because when you step in snow, the snow manipulates the footprint to look bigger, especially when it starts to melt. This is my concern. The footprints averaged 17 and a half inches long, measured 55 inches in stride length, no drag marks, incredibly clean impressions. The spacing suggests a biped with a normal hip width. Local RCMP reportedly visited the site after the photos were shared, but have released nothing. The police got involved in this one.
Yeah, that's a long trackway. And you're right to be skeptical about that, especially if the photos haven't been released. Why not? It's just a trackway. It seems to me that somebody might be pulling our leg.
You never know, my friend. You never know. Lee, where can people find Element 115?
Right here on your channel, my friend, on YouTube, Facebook. Yeah. So come on and join me on Friday nights from 8 to 9 o'clock.
We can do that. As we say goodnight to Lee. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your car, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody.
Speaking of spheres,
I literally forgot to turn this, that I had to hit record, stop on the recording. That was kind of awesome. Good job, Dave.
what?
Well, am I recording here?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening to the end of the music. I'm like, yeah, what do I do now at this time? Oh, yeah, I got to turn it off. What a Momo.
Sometimes I'll have my phone in a pocket or something, and then I'll be looking for my phone. Oh, yeah, it's right there. Come on.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
It happens to the best of us.
What are we trying to do here?
Dave, where are your glasses at?
Oh, those are on my eyes because I can't see without them. You know? That I do know. That I do know.
Yeah. Or you have your car keys in your hand and you're looking for your car keys.
That's happened before. That's happened before.
Yep. But we were speaking of orbs, and I'd love to share a little quick
Yeah,
story.
do that. I'm gonna just type this out here.
Yeah, yeah. So Mount Baker, there's a ski area there, and
I've
you
skied
go
there.
up to Reflection Lake, and then beyond that, you got Heather Meadows, and there's like this old lodge from like the 1930s there, and it's all made of stone and lumber beams and raw lumber, like trees. Basically, it's kind of like a log cabin, but it's got just all this rock embedded into this thing, and it's super cool there. Well, every year we would go up with a bunch of people to go look for UFOs in this area around Mount Baker. And Heather Meadows was one area that we kind of kept going back to. Never really saw anything there. But off to the side, off to the east, there was this cliff face. And along this cliff face, there was a road that kind of switched back up to a place called Artist Point. But we were down below at the Heather Meadows. We were watching low clouds were coming in, and it was really misty. And we kind of were just hanging out underneath this like porch shed roof of this building. And we're kind of peeking around the corner, and we were watching that back direction back there where the road goes in this cliff face. And we saw what we could only describe as a yellowish orange orb dip down below the clouds, do like a U, basically come down, do a U, and then back up into the clouds again. And it was so funny because the lady that was there with her husband, and we were talking, and she had been with, I don't know, 5 years in a row. She had come with us and had never seen anything. She just wasn't there at the right time. Never was there at the right time when things would happen.
Right.
And so she was standing next to me, and she saw it, and she says, "Oh my God, finally." And, that was the last year that her and her husband came out with us. It was like they had been waiting all this time to see something, and they finally saw something, and then that was enough. It was
They
like
retired right there, eh?
Yep, that was enough. Yep.
Well, that's nice of them. Right?
Yeah.
But for some people, that's all they need. Is
Yeah.
they just want that one experience. They want that one case where they can be like, okay, that's enough. I got what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you got what you were looking for.
Yeah. Don't blame you.
And it almost feels like they did it on purpose for her.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. What makes you think that?
Well, her husband was getting dementia.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's sad.
And it was probably going to be the last time that they came out anyway. And so, the fact that she had gone every year for like 5 years with us to see something. And it's funny when you do a group of go up with a group of people, they're not there every night. Like they'll come up one night with you, and then they won't come up the next night with you. They'll stay
Right.
back in the cabin or whatever the case may be. But yeah, things just lined up for her perfectly.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we used to have friends down in Mission when I invited our former friends of ours to over for a beer and some UFOs. This one I used to be able to summon. And when the lady saw the black triangle over my house, she flipped, man. No, first it was the rod that we saw, and she was like, what is going on? Because very Catholic upbringing.
Yeah.
And she was just like, just losing her stuff over that. But when the black triangle came, oh my, that was a different story right there, man. Different story right there. And she was like, we're going home. We're going home. I can't handle this. Like it's only like 9:45. Don't care. Or 10:45 or whatever it was. Don't care. I don't want any of this. Don't bring this stuff around me. Wouldn't come over for beers anymore.
Yeah.
After that.
A lot of people think that stuff is dynamic. Just evil and.
Yep. Totally get it. And you know what? They're allowed to think that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that we can do. Nothing what we can do.
No.
You know? Anyways, Lee, hold on a few minutes. To our audience. Oh, hold on. What is this from Blue Cruise? From a sales, marketing, or a promotional point of view, is it possible and feasible to add all of Spaced Out Radio's contacts and social media information on the back of all shirts? Yeah, I do it for most of them. I mean, we put the spacedoutradio.com on there. We put the logo on there. So, yes, we are doing that. Some of them are hidden on the inside of the shirt, on the collar but we try and put it on there. We do. Chris 1420, how you doing? All right. To the rest of you, thank you to T-Bone for gifting a membership. Thank you to Two Shadows, Roswell Alien, and Amy Allo for the super champs. Appreciate that. Warden Dragon, how are you? We're just going to wrap this thing up. Rose Demaray, how are you? Nice to have you here. And you guys have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. Bob Spearing will be my guest. Oh, no, that's the following week. Sorry. Chris Berryman will be my guest. What are we going to talk? The N1 sessions. We're going to learn about that. N1 sessions. And for all of you, so you know, we are taking the 24th, 25th, and 26th off of the show, as well as New Year's Eve and New Year's Day night off. So we do have a little bit of a break coming up here for the show. The rest of you, thank you very much for coming on in. We love you. Do us a favor. Tell a friend. Hit subscribe. Ring that bell. And we'll talk to you on Monday, everybody. Much love from the extra small one himself, Lee Strauss. Lee?
There is hair up there. It's just way back.
I know. Mine's not. Mine's all over the place. Good night, buddy.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.